The year was 2014. Wait a minute. That was last year. Huh. What am I doing talking about something so, new? I'm gonna try to sort that out, but we are gonna have to step a little further back. Back to E3 2013, where Nintendo announced that a brand new Smash Bros. Was on its way. Oh my god! Look at that! Villager is... No. I mean, it was great to see, but come on, we knew this was coming. Every Nintendo console gets a Smash, and the Wii U really needed it. What was surprising was that a version would also be hitting the 3DS. It all looked fun, but it was such an obvious move, and it was still over a year away. It didn't really shock me the way that Melee and Brawl had, and that's just a placeholder title, right? Right, yeah, it's gotta be. Okay. What are they? What? Okay, I was lying before. Forget about it being obvious. Forget about how long we'd have to wait. It is new Smash Bros. Season, and until this game comes out, I am going to spend every single moment absolutely drowning in hype. Series director Masahiro Sakurai returned once again to captain the ship, and make no mistake, this man threw his life into making this game. His body even started turning on him, developed calcific tendinitis, and ruptured muscles in his right arm. And all he had to say about it was, "I'm glad I'm still in good enough shape to work." As painful as it might be for him, that window between a new Smash Bros. Announcement and the day the game comes out really is one of my favorite times to be a gamer. Once again, every few months brought the reveal of a new character, delivered this time via beautifully animated trailers that capture the inherent coolness of Smash. So many characters from so many universes coming together, causing so many fan bases to do the same. It's like cheering your home sports team. We share in crushing disappointment when our guy doesn't make it, and unbridled enthusiasm when they do. This is way too early to be a retrospective, and way too late to be a review. So this, my friends, is the Geek Critique for, wait, that's really what they called it? Okay. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS! The 3DS wouldn't just get a Smash, but would actually have its own version of this Smash. As such, most of what I'll say applies to both versions. They each have the exact same roster of characters, the same mechanics and physics, and many of the same modes. What I didn't really understand is why they would release the 3DS version first, about a month ahead of the Wii U. Smash Bros. Is a killer app, a system seller. I know some people who got their fill of the game, and chose to skip the Wii U entirely as a result. On the other hand, it says a lot about how far we've come that a portable Smash could be so good you get your fill of it. Sakurai endeavored to make it with no compromises, and in most ways it hits the mark, especially considering it runs on the original Model 3DS. But Sakurai couldn't quite make it happen without compromising something. This is the first time a Smash sequel has cut characters without a similar analog. The most veteran loss are the Ice Climbers. Having a total of 8 individual climbers was just too much for the 3DS to handle, and while I personally never played them, it's still unfortunate. Smash 4 made transformations like Sheik and Zero Suit Samus into entirely separate playable characters, but while Charizard now has a roster spot to himself, the Pokemon Trainer, along with Ivysaur and Squirtle, are MIA. As much as I liked playing a Squirtle, this is a little more understandable. If the full trio had been kept, there would have been a whopping 7 playable Pokemon in the base game, with 5 hailing from the first generation. The biggest loss for me is that Snake is gone. I'm a big fan of Metal Gear, and Snake had a unique playstyle that's now completely lost. Of course, given the state of Konami lately, I can't say I'm surprised. A duo of fighters who do have similar substitutes were also left out. Lucas was gone, knocking the Mother series back down to a single rep, and Wolf was also cut. That's a weird decision. If they needed to cut a Star Fox rep, it should have been Falco. Wolf's playstyle deviated from Fox's much more significantly. Plus, he's an antagonist. I know a lot of Meleeers are partial to Falco, so I'm guessing that's why he was kept over Wolf. These omissions made way for 15 newcomers, making up 17 new fighting types. Far more than we'd ever had in any previous game. The Smash Bros. Series has been invigorated more by its characters than by sweeping additions to its mechanics, and with that many newcomers, you better believe the game has changed. The newcomers fall loosely into 3 categories. The first and most controversial group are the clones. Brawl largely abstained from straight-up clones and diversified those that it kept from Melee, but Smash 4 brings them back. Lucina is a more balanced but less demanding Marth, Dr. Mario is back as a stronger, slower Mario, Dark Pit is a complete waste of a character space, and no character at all would have been preferable. Okay, I'm exaggerating. I'm okay with Lucina, so I guess I have to give Dark Pit a pass. And according to Sakurai, no character at all was the only other choice. They didn't have enough time to design another new fighter, so the team decided to split a few alternate costumes off and give them their own tweaks. As redundant as they are, it makes sense. The second group of newcomers are the old school reps. Duck Hunt is the closest replacement we get to Snake's tactical stage control gameplay style. Little Max started as an assist trophy in Brawl, and his playable debut here makes him an exhilarating glass cannon, and Smash 4 has done more to raise Mega Man star than Capcom itself has in years. His movements are rooted in 8-bit style, and while that lack of spectacle has disappointed some players, I really enjoy him. Perhaps the most deserving newcomer is also the most veteran, Pac-Man. Smash 4 was developed as a joint venture between Sakurai's own Sora Limited and the company behind Pac-Man, Namco Bandai. So while it wasn't a surprise to see him here, it's hard to think of any character more influential on the tapestry of gaming who wasn't already here. The final category, and by far the largest, are the newer newcomers, for lack of a better term. I remember Sakurai noting back in 2008 that the newest franchise in Brawl was Pikmin, which originated 7 years before. It was a not-so-subtle condemnation of Nintendo's failure to create new stars during the GameCube era, but Smash 4 is able to pull from much more contemporary sources. You can now customize a Mii fighter, split into 3 distinct fighting styles. I find myself wishing it got a little deeper than just changing their specials, but it is an appropriate fit for the Miis. The trailer they were announced in with Reggie fighting Iwata is one of the most hilarious, awesome things I've ever seen come out of Nintendo. Speaking of hilarious, Wii Fit Trainer wasn't who anybody was asking for, but it feels right to have her here. Smash 4 has a much deeper pool of different color schemes for each fighter, and just like Wario has different outfits, the male Wii Fit Trainer can also be selected. The same gender swappability is also true for Robin, the customizable protagonist of Fire Emblem Awakening. When I first saw him, I was flabbergasted that Fire Emblem was getting yet another rep, but Robin is completely distinct from Marth and Ike, focusing more on tomes and magic than the blade. Robin has become the surprise standout of the cast for me, a character I wasn't hyped for, whom I've ended up playing a lot. She's no ordinary swordsman. And they just keep coming. Palutena is varied and magical and honestly kind of bores me. Greninja is fast, sneaky, and fun. Villager dementedly plays Smash Potato. Bowser Jr. and the Koopa Kids are so much more creative than the Bowser clones they could have been. Rosalina is the standout new Mario rep, and Shulk is yet another pretty anime swordsman. Freaking RPG characters. Yes, I have heard tale of some gamers despising these newcomers. To an extent, I can see the argument. There are a deluge of anime swordsmen in here. In fact, 11 characters fight with some kind of blade. Fire Emblem in particular ends up with 4 roster spots, while the far more popular Donkey Kong series still only has 2. I'm basing that on worldwide sales of each franchise, but that is partly my bias showing, I know. Let me temper it with this. So long as a fighter is fun to play and well designed, I'm ultimately fine with them being here. Even Shulk turns out to be a mechanically fabulous character. And hey, I enjoyed Robin so much, I finally picked up Fire Emblem Awakening. Isn't that a hallmark of Smash Bros? It plays on your nostalgia while introducing you to series you've never tried before. Call it the Kingmaker after all. I think a lot of these complaints stem from Smash 4's focus on these newer newcomers. 9 of the 15 are from games released post-2000, which makes sense. These are the current products. These are the ones that need the spotlight. It's just that older gamers, myself included, are getting older, and we're not going to have the same affinity for these guys that we would have for our childhood favorites. And that's okay. I'm really happy with the roster, and it makes a lot of sense to give plenty of shine to the next generation. So those are the characters. How about the stages? I'm not going to be so detailed with them, but there are plenty I like, some I don't like, and a disappointing number that could potentially be so awesome and fun if only the Yellow Devil didn't spawn. Our flying men would stop dive bombing. Our Ridley would quit wrecking you. Smash 4 greatly expands the use of these stage hazards. I'd assume the reason the team felt confident enough to include so many ridiculous game breakers is because of another new feature, the Omega Mode stages, where a level keeps its music and graphical motif but switches to a flat plane reminiscent of Final Destination. This is not the worst idea. It opens up a lot more variety if all you want is a straight line. But despite what the meme says, competitive Smash is a lot more than just Final Destination. The development team may have missed that nuance. Most of the stages are version exclusive. The console stages tend to be larger and flashier, but I'd love to see an update that brings at least some of the exclusives to the other platform. Each version also gets an exclusive mode. On the Wii U, you've got Smash Tour, where you select a Mii and run around a game board, collecting fighters and items and powering up your stats. It ends in a climactic battle where each individual fighter gives you a stock, so you'll swap out characters when you lose a life. It's clearly designed as a multiplayer party mode, but here's the problem. Smash newbies are going to find it way too obtuse and convoluted. Look at all these counters and items and stipulations. I've played it a dozen times and it's still difficult to keep track of. As for Smash veterans, well, why would I pick this random, complicated Smash tour over the main fighting mode? It's the kind of thing you'll play once and never touch again. Like Mario Party, you just don't have enough agency for anything to feel meaningful. It's so much less than the sum of its parts. Over on the 3DS, you've got Smash Run. This sets up to 4 players on a huge non-linear platforming stage, fighting off randomly spawning baddies from across franchises. For 5 minutes, you explore the area, collecting power-ups, completing challenges, and trying to build your stats as high as possible. Though there's only this one map, the enemy spawns, challenge doors, and even some of the terrain all vary between rounds. You can't just memorize an optimal path. When the 5 minutes are up, everyone's stats are calculated, and you compete in a random finale. Among others, it could be a sudden death battle, a jump contest, or a race that I will win even if I give everyone a 30-second head start because I'm Sonic. I didn't care for Smash Run when I first played it, but as you memorize the consistent aspects of the map, learn to counter each enemy type, and end up with these super beefed up fighters laying waste to each other, it becomes a whole lot of fun, especially when you start trying out custom power-ups. While it still has random elements, your skill as a player is the biggest deciding factor in Smash Run. It's something I could definitely see myself playing when traditional battles get a little tiring, or even as a warm-up. I just wish I knew more people with the 3DS version, because neither Smash Tour or Smash Run can be played online. However, Smash Run is the only real advantage the 3DS has. The bulk of features are Wii U exclusives, including event matches, Master and Crazy Orders, GameCube controller support, Stage Builder, and 8-player Smash. The Wii U version is undoubtedly the definitive experience. Still, I wouldn't write the 3DS version off as a stopgap. It's as good as a portable Smash could possibly be, and I've sunk almost as much time into it as I have its big screen counterpart. I'm even a little surprised by how much I've kept playing it, even after the Wii U version came out. Being able to play Smash Bros. Anywhere still hasn't lost its shine. Speaking of shine, how about those graphics? The series has always skewed a little realistic, and that's okay, but Brawl got way too excessive in so many ways. And one was this muted, brownish, ugly color palette that was all the rage in 2008. Smash 4 tends to absolve a lot of Brawl's mistakes, and it's striking in comparison, bringing a far more appropriate and spectacular range of color that works in tandem with the chaotic, flashy nature of its gameplay. And I do mean striking. Lightning-like visuals are used to highlight critical attacks. That little pause is one of my favorite ways a developer can make an action just feel amazing. This gameplay is where Smash 4 really shines. Now, it's not Melee. It doesn't have anywhere near that kind of beautiful, accidental depth. Instead, Smash 4 refines Sakurai's vision to such a degree that Brawl becomes mechanically obsolete. You remember Brawl, right? With its floaty physics and imprecise balance and seeming resentment for the competitive community, Smash 4 seems designed with its most hardcore players in mind, and as limited as Omega stages are, that's still a big step. But what really makes a difference is the character balance. There is no such thing as a perfectly balanced game, but this comes closer than any of its predecessors. Every single character feels much more powerful and capable, and so for the first time, every single character can be fun to play. I first noticed this with Donkey Kong, who's been a slow doofus, an easily counterable punching bag ever since Smash 64. He's faster, he's stronger, he finally feels like the agile powerhouse he always should have. I'm dumb enough to try to clear All-Star on hard with everyone, and I'm really noticing that as I dig into each character, they're often designed with a playstyle befitting of their personalities. Take Sonic, for instance. I've been maining him since Brawl, but man, people hate him in this game. I think that's part of his mind game, though. That's always how the characters acted. He annoys you into making mistakes, and uses that opening to put you away. You're supposed to hate that hedgehog. I'm not saying there's no tier list. Some characters do tend to have the upper hand, but for the first time, no one feels utterly outmatched, nor does anyone have such an edge as to be broken. Although if I'd made this video a few months ago, I might have been singing a different tune. Smash 4 has already gotten a handful of balance patches, and thus far they've been well implemented, though it does suck that they don't include detailed patch notes. Still, this careful approach to balance is a big part of the reason the gameplay is so strong, and while it'll never be perfect, it can always get better. Melee overshot it. Brawl Pratt fell before it ever got close, but Smash 4 nails that sweet spot. The game is fast, but not too fast. It's easy to pick up, but mastering it won't involve joining a secret society of wave dashers. It's rock solid through and through. I play Smash for the love of the game. You could take all these iconic characters out of it, and the gameplay alone would be enough for me. And this is the first time I've ever focused on playing this well. The first time I've ever considered becoming more competitive. This is exactly what I wanted out of a Smash game. And after nearly 400 hours, I'm still loving it. And I'm still struggling with this freaking All-Star Challenge. That kind of mechanical analysis is not for everybody. It's absolutely brutal and even unfair sometimes. You can play flawlessly, and your efforts still may feel as useless as a floundering Goldeen. That this is what I've resorted to may be indicative of a bigger problem. Not everybody plays for glory! The series has been putting more and more focus on these icons in each iteration, not just as avatars for the player, but as characters in their own right. Melee's Adventure Mode let you take anyone on the roster on a romp through the worlds of Nintendo. Brawl went far beyond with the Subspace Emissary story mode. As clunky as it was in some ways, it was so worth playing Subspace just to see the characters together. In every other way, Smash 4 fixes Brawl's mistakes and evolves the concept. But in this way, it rejects the concept. There is no story, no adventure, almost nothing at all beyond the core fighting game. Every single mode is based around it. Where Brawl let its core gameplay falter and focused on the bells and whistles, Smash 4 is the opposite, and that's opened up a bit of a schism. For some, those bells and whistles weren't just extras, they were Smash Brothers. If the primary reason you come to this series is for the love of the characters, because you want to see these disparate personalities from across the Nintendo multiverse coming together, well, your best bet might be to just watch the character trailers. There's an awesome new final boss for Classic Mode, and that's long overdue, but there's no context for it. Smash Bros. Is the ultimate showcase of Nintendo's franchises, and increasingly, the ultimate showcase of the history of gaming. Failing to capitalize on that with some kind of adventure is a real missed opportunity. Smash 4 has plenty of competitive potential, but it'll never be Melee. If that's what you're looking for, you'll find a lot more in the Project M mod. And if you want character and story depth, and the core game is not engaging to you, Smash 4 may even seem like a glorified minigame collection. Now, when I heard there was no story mode, I was like, that's fine! Make the mechanics better! And they did! But even with that perspective, I've got some grievances. This past year, I've graduated college. Most of my friends have moved away or gotten jobs, and I've dedicated myself to babbling about games on the internet. My friend circle has expanded into more of a friend universe. Those halcyon days of getting together to sit on the couch and play deep into the night are over, and as much time as I've put into Smash 4, 95% of that has been spent alone. That's why it stings so bad that the online experience still isn't where it should be. Oh, it's leagues better than it was in Brawl, but Nintendo still hasn't completely ironed out that little snap of input lag from all but the most perfect connections. I can kind of adjust to it, but I shouldn't have to. You also don't have many options for facing random people, especially one-on-one. Look, nothing can replicate the experience of playing games in the same room with your friends. Nothing else even comes close to that. But I see the value in having a rich online experience more than ever, and it's disappointing that Smash 4 still doesn't hit the mark. Oh, and I almost forgot about Global Smash Power, which is appropriate because it means nothing. It's sort of a reverse leaderboard, counting up how many other players scored lower than you. This gives very little indication of where you actually stand, but despite how useless it is, the counter persists on screen through just about every scoreable mode. Amiibo functionality leaves something to be desired too. The figures themselves are well made and fun to collect, but I don't know why they had to match their official artwork. These little plastic stands some of them have just look silly. In-game, it's cool to train them up and see how they pick up on your tricks, but what cripples them is that they can't be used at all outside of Versus mode. Remember, I've had to play this game by myself a lot, and it would have been awesome to put my Amiibo to work as a companion through Classic or All-Star. Like I said, they're neat, but they feel like something that was tacked on, like Nintendo just co-opted Smash's Spotlight to launch the line. But what do I know? They've been immensely successful. One of the most significant things that's always differentiated Sakurai's approach to Smash Bros. From other multiplayer Nintendo franchises is his commitment to customability. You're not locked into only playing the game one way. Switch items off, activate ridiculous mods, even change whether or not and how often stage music plays. It's your game, play it how you like. It's something a lot of series could learn from. Smash 4 throws an interesting twist into the mix. Custom characters. Each of a fighter's 4 specials can be customized with 3 unique moves. You can also customize equipment, which adjusts your attack, defense, and speed. Some of it gives bonuses, like starting the match with a bat, or becoming invincible on landing the first strike. This becomes extremely extremely important in single player. Creating a bat-wielding, fast-swinging Mario makes the new Master and Crazy Orders modes almost trivial, but it's a lot of fun. Equipment bonuses are way too unstable to make for fair matches, but custom moves could, in theory, lead to a deeper competitive metagame. I did say in theory, because this entire system is really clunky. Beyond just setting up a character, everything is just way too much of a time sink to actually unlock. You get custom moves and equipment in just about every mode, so you'd think I'd have everything by now, but I'm not even close. You often have to grind for specific characters, and even that can take a while. A system where you could spend coins in exchange for items would have been a lot better. That's not even the worst of Smash 4's customization woes. And this is my biggest problem with the game. Everything that could be set before, like items and stage switches, that's all still here. But for some reason, customizing any of the new features is just not a thing anymore. Smash Run always ends in a random event. You can't practice them, they just happen. And how cool would it be to just test drive a character with overpowered mods outside of Smash Run or Tour? The programming's already there, so why not? But again, there's no way to do it. I have always wanted a mode where you get to select a team of characters and use each one as a stock. Project N can do it, and Smash 4 has it too. As the finale of Smash Tour. Why is an awesome feature like this locked at the end of this stupid board game? Is it because it couldn't have been done on the 3DS? I think most gamers would have please understood if a stock team battle was Wii U exclusive. Heck, I'd have been fine if the Ice Climbers were only on Wii U. All these compromises start to feel like omissions. Items have always been a chaotic, exciting option, but how far would the series have gone if you couldn't turn them off? Well, they'd be a lot like the stage hazards. And again, the functionality to remove them is there. Most of them don't even show up in 8-player Smash, so how sensible would it be? How hard would it be to just let players switch them off entirely? This uncharacteristically sloppy approach to something the series always did so well indicates, I believe, that Sakurai and his team were pushed to the brink, designing 2 versions of Smash Bros. Simultaneously. As of mid-2015, they're still at it. Smash 4 is a game in flux, a game that's still evolving. Content updates, balance patches, new stages, even new characters have been released, and more are on the way. I was a PC gamer in a past life, and I'm a big believer in DLC so long as it's done well. Who knows, the majority of this critique could be invalidated as soon as the next patch hits. Even though it's been out for the better part of a year, it still feels early. In a sense, these ongoing updates mean that period of pre-release anticipation still hasn't ended. The hype train is still rolling, but even that won't be eternal. One day, a new Smash Bros. Will be announced. When that time comes, I hope that Masahiro Sakurai will finally step back and let a new director take the reins. It feels like he's achieved his vision for the series that made him legendary, and I'd love to see where a less experienced, more risk-taking developer might take us next time. After all, Sakurai himself was a renegade once, working in his off time on a passion project that his bosses would never approve, but it all paid off, and soon, his work would become the centerpiece of Nintendo's generations. It's impossible to nail down Smash 4's legacy from here. Maybe I'll revisit it a few years from now, and see what's become of it. Maybe I'll even clear the challenge board by then. In spite of the clunky menus and the dumb modes and all the pretty anime swordsmen, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U is still by far my favorite in the series. It forgoes some extracurriculars, but it polishes the heart of the game to such a degree that in another 400 hours, I'll still be enjoying it. I'll still be trying out wacky custom stage variants, I'll hopefully be playing as King K. Rool, #RockTheVote, and most critically, I'll still be tilting the menu with the C stick. Tilting the menu with the C stick. Hey, please click like for me before you go. I haven't said this in a while, but if you've enjoyed this video, the most amazing thing you could do would just be to tell other people about it. The Geek Critique is my passion project, and this episode took a long time. A huge thanks to Kovar for invaluable help with scripting, and thanks to the incredibly talented Porotypes for letting me use their awesome Diddy Kong song. Like the Facebook, follow the Twitter, and until next time, you keep geeking, I'll keep critiquing. Thank you for watching.